Hey everyone, today I wanted to make a video and show you how you can easily try to diagnose losing coolant. Maybe you know you have a leak and trying to figure out where it's from without having to bring into a shop, maybe pay 100 or a couple $100 just for them to tell you where it is and then to tell you how much it's going to be to actually fix it after that. So this is just a basic quick thing that you can diagnostic on your own test that you can do actually 100% for free. So real quick, first of all, the places that you could find a coolant leak. So kind of like what your cooling system is. This is not, a cooling system is not the same as an AC system. So don't confuse those because I know you get cool in the car when you turn on the AC. But basically what you have is here, this is your overflow tank. So when you start your car and it gets hot, the coolant gets hot and it expands, some of it ends up flowing into there. For me, it's through this tube, so it goes in there. This is where I actually put in my coolant. The normal, I would say, spot is gonna be right here. A lot of people just have the radiator cap on their radiator and it sits right about here and maybe on the other side of the radiator. Mine, however, this is a 2008 Chevy Impala LS, and this is a 3.5 liter engine, so this is where you're gonna find it if you have the same car. So basically you have your overflow tank, you have of course your radiator, or these are the fans, it's right behind there is your radiator. You have two hoses. You have your upper radiator hose, connects to the upper part of the radiator, and that's right here. Then right there, my finger, that is the lower radiator hose. So they connect to the radiator, pumps the fluid through there to cool, and then into your engine, and that's going to go in the cracks, crevices of the engine. When it gets really hot while driving, it's going to cool the engine and keep it at a consistent temperature. One of the biggest components right here, my finger is on the, it's behind this, but it's these bolts at the end of my finger is what hold it on. The water pump. So basically, it's called a water pump. It pumps coolant. So when you start your car and you start this belt driving, spins the pump and causes it to pump the fluid all the way through your engine, through all components. The one that you can't actually see, it's actually right here at the tip of my finger, and that is your heater core. So you can see those couple hoses, even that one with the clamp at the end of my finger there. They go into it, so that pumps coolant through your heater core. So in the winter, when you turn on your heat actually comes from hot coolant, believe it or not. So it's taking away the heat from your engine and throwing it into the car to keep you warm. So if you don't have heat, one of the first places I would check is actually your coolant level. Make sure you have enough coolant. So actually, back to like leaking and such, if you are losing coolant, there's two places you can be losing it, either a drip on the ground or maybe you see it in the bottom of your car, or if you don't see any drips, it's leaking internally. You're probably going to notice some white smoke coming out of the back of the car. You could have a blown head gasket or some other gasket that is causing coolant to leak in. Another great place to check would be your oil. So if your coolant is mixing with your oil and you take off your oil cap, you're gonna see like a milky sludge that's gonna be in here. It's almost like mixing water and oil because we know those don't mix. So mixing coolant and oil is it's almost gonna look like a milkshake type color. So that'd be another way to check for a head gasket or some internal leak. If you're looking for an external leak, the easiest places to check are, of course, your hoses. These are right here. They're easy to get to without removing anything. Make sure your clamps are on tight. Make sure there's no liquid because there shouldn't be any coming around on both sides. And then if you get under the car or have a flashlight, have someone hold it. This right here is the clamp, one clamp to my lower radiator hose that connects to the engine as well, I believe, to radiator housing down there. So you just want to make sure that those are not wet at all because they shouldn't be. And the other side connects down there to the radiator, and so it'll be harder to get to. Check that as well. A very common part to go bad actually is the water pump. So if you ever are doing work on your car, maybe on your own, and you have some of these parts disassembled, it's a fairly inexpensive part. It's not like a couple $100 to just replace it on your own before it's even bad. And I have done that once on a vehicle before, but that is literally what pumps your coolant through. So if that is having a problem, and there is a gasket in between the part and the engine, so if that gasket is blown and you're seeing a drip maybe around there, you can't exactly see the water pump itself. It's pretty blocked. But if you're seeing like for me, it's right there. So if I'm seeing a drip like right there, and I can't see anything on the hoses or anything from here, anything in the heater core dripping, I'm gonna check here for next. And you can throw like you can buy a pretty cheap dye that you just throw in with the coolant, and then that's gonna, you drive it for a couple 100 miles or however much it says to, and then as it continues to leak out coolant, you're gonna be able to use a UV flashlight and see the dye. I guess my flashlight just went out. So you're gonna be able to see the dye drip and see exactly where it's coming from. That's another super useful tool. I will say this, if your heater core is the culprit, it's not going to be super common. It's not a part that goes bad really frequently unless there's a lot of buildup of stuff in your engine or in the cooling system. You will probably, I'm not going to go inside the car, you know where your dash is. Under your dash, that's where the heater core is. It's really hard to get to replace on a lot of vehicles, but if you're noticing like a lot of liquid like on the carpet on the inside, I would go ahead and check your heater core and see if that is maybe built up, see if maybe you can just flush it out with a hose or something and take off the hoses down there from the outside here, flush it out and see if that gets some of the sludge out. Also, I would just like touch it, smell it on the inside. Don't taste it, obviously. But see if it just smells sweet, because that's what coolant will smell like. I'll give you another good hint. So the premise of the video is this tool. So this is like I said, it's a free test. This is a free tool. It was $250 to rent from AutoZone. I don't know if other auto parts stores have them as well or this deal. However, you keep your receipt, pay $250 for it. They give you, at this time of this video, it's 90 days that I have to run this test. So of all these adapters, just for a bunch of different cars, you're gonna find the one that fits your radiator cap or just where you put in your coolant. So for me, it's up here. And then you're gonna get a pump. That is the only other thing that comes with it. So I have my pump here and I have my part that's gonna fit. So what I'm gonna do, it is as simple as this. You screw it in. You don't want to hear any air when you're pumping, and that's how you know you might have the wrong adapter. So that's not all the way in, but you're gonna grab your pump. Can't do this with one hand. You're gonna attach this piece onto the top. Here's snap. And then you're just gonna start pumping. It's gonna pump air into the system. I would not pump past whatever the PSI is. For this one, it's 18 PSI for my vehicle. So I'm not gonna pump past that because I don't wanna damage the engine or anything, and they have a gauge here that tells you exactly what you're at. So you're just gonna start pumping. If you hear a hissing or if you start seeing a leak or even hearing a drip, which probably means you're dripping a lot, then you know exactly where to start. Obviously, you could have multiple spots, so make sure that you listen for that. But this forces air into your system. The only other way to mimic this is when your car is running. And obviously, when your car is running, the engine is hot. It's worse circumstances to try to look for a leak. So for this completely free thing that once you return it, you get all your money back, no fees or anything, at least from AutoZone, you basically can figure it out on your own, saving money relatively quick. So you're gonna pump it up to whatever the PSI is on that cap. I even do 1 or 2 below it, and then you're just gonna wait. Maybe go inside for a half hour. If you start seeing it drop immediately, then just immediately start looking for leaks, listening everywhere around all the spots I mentioned, specifically around these hoses and I don't know, the water pump, seeing if there's anything wet that's getting that's starting to get wet. Go ahead, check that out, and then you know exactly what part to replace. Like I said, if you're also just experiencing overheating, you're probably losing coolant. So first step is trying to diagnose, is it inside the engine or is it outside? It's a lot more serious if it's inside. So you just want to make sure you know before you start diagnosing. So if you guys have any questions, if I missed anything, go ahead and leave them in the comments. Feel free to reach out with any questions about your vehicle or about the cooling system or this tool. Any feedback would be appreciated. Hope this helps you out.